All right, I'm here with Lea, is it Banken?
Banken.
Banken, okay, and Del Nathan. Thanks for showing up. And, I usually say, I meet a lot of people doing this stuff, and it's usually not under good situations. So I always say it's nice to meet you, and then it's not nice to meet you. You know how that goes. But I appreciate you coming on the show to tell your story and what's gone on in the courtroom, which has just been atrocious to me. But where I want to start, I kind of want to start at the end and then kind of go back to the beginning. And of course, it's not the end yet, obviously, but at least the latest things that have happened. So why don't we start with the writ of mandamus aspect. So a judge issued an order. What did he issue that order about?
It was regarding the blog.
The blog. You have a blog.
I have a blog, carvercountycorruption.wordpress.com.
And you can see it right under there on their the website there. So okay.
And I was ordered to take it down.
You were ordered by the court to take down a blog. Did the court say why you were ordered to take it down?
No, I don't believe so.
They did not.
No.
Okay. And so with the order, did they fine you or just say take it down or?
Yes, I'm being fined. And it's $50 a day, and there's so much for every day that each post is available to the public, and thousands of dollars, pretty much.
Okay.
And actually back charging, and yeah, I don't totally pay too much attention, but yeah, it's...
Now, is this your blog or somebody else is doing it?
Well, there's quite a few people that are participating in it.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have anything to do with it or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving a lot of information to people.
Yeah.
Which, which is your liberty and your right.
Right. Yeah.
With this order, which is just outrageous because it's a violation of free speech and just because it's a court case.
It's embarrassing to the judge. That's the big point.
That's a
Right.
big, and this is
It's criticizing Judge Perkins.
Judge Richard
And he
Perkins.
doesn't like it at all.
Okay. Well, who likes to be criticized? But, I mean, you're an elected official. Of course, he was first appointed by Arnie Carlson, but you're an elected official, so, any legislator, a governor, you know what they would say is just man up. This is part of the deal. You get to write with the power of the pen, and you get to destroy lives, and people can't respond. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, it's really insanity. And it's really a form of self-centeredness or narcissism that they can't be criticized.
It's a means of preserving their power. They don't want to be criticized. They don't want their job to be in danger. So they want to stifle criticism. And Lea is a source of criticism of Judge Perkins because of what he has done to her.
Well, definitely, and it takes a lot of guts to speak up, and there's a lot at stake, but in this case, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
But there still is with your kids. But so with this order, of course, the right thing to do is you filed an appeal.
Yes.
And that was a writ of mandamus?
It was a writ of prohibition, actually.
Writ of prohibition,
yes.
Okay. And that was to go to the appellate court, and the appellate court has to take these, I've done a few of these, but they have to respond. You gotta do it, once you serve it, they have to respond within a couple weeks.
Correct.
How long did it take the higher court to respond?
About 4 weeks. The writ of prohibition was filed on August 16, and the decision came out just yesterday.
Okay, and what did the decision say?
The decision is totally lacking in common sense. What the decision says is, well, Ms. Banken, you have a remedy. You can appeal. Of course, Ms. Banken doesn't have any lawyer. She has no money, and she's not a lawyer. So saying to her that you can appeal adds 9 months to the review process. It's impractical because she is not a lawyer. She doesn't know what to do. But more importantly, the assessments amounting to thousands of dollars are now going to be a judgment against her, and so she has to fend off having to respond to garnishment, to executions, to all manner of collection, while trying to preserve, what she has, which is nothing. And so as a practical matter, there's no remedy at all for Ms. Banken. She's at the mercy of Judge Perkins, who is violating her constitutional rights, and the appeals court is letting him get away with it.
Well, what can Judge Perkins do between now and whenever? Let's say the appellate court time, can he bring Lea in and say, I'm gonna punish you more, or throw her in contempt of court for not taking the blog down? What can he, I mean, what can he do?
He could do all of those things.
He can do all of that.
Mhm.
And so, if she appeals, and does the long process, once she notices the appeal, puts the appeal in, can that stop the judge from then holding her in contempt?
No, she can ask the judge to what they call stay the assessments, but it's his power to stay or not stay the penalties he has already ordered.
Okay. So, you're in a precarious situation.
Yeah.
Well, if it's any comfort, no, it's not. I've been in the Carver County Jail. It's nice. Some of the people you meet there, you know, it's a little different, but it's a nice facility, you know. But you don't want to be there, absolutely. And I jest with that, but it's not a game, and this judge shouldn't be doing this.
Well, the judge is doing more. He has approved denying Lea any contact with her 3 young children, ages 1, 5, and 7. She has not seen them for over 3 months. They will not allow her to express her love for those kids or allow the kids to express love for their mother. She is not allowed to care for the kids. The kids are being cared for by a complete stranger, a nanny, whose qualifications are unknown, whose history is unknown. And this takes place every day. Lea misses her kids, as any mother would, tremendously. And she's worried about them. And she knows that they are not in good physical condition. But she's not being allowed to do anything toward expressing her mother's love for these kids, to protect them from possible sexual and physical abuse. She's not allowed to do that.
Well, you know, it begs the question of, I mean, somebody in the audience is going to be thinking, well, come on, you know, the judge must have found something that you're a real bad mother. There must have been some findings of fact. There must have been a hearing. There must be some conclusions of law. Those are 2 elements, findings of fact, conclusions of law, in order for this order to be written to take the kids away.
Yeah, you would think there would be something like alcohol abuse, drug abuse,
Physical abuse?
some physical abuse. But the fact is, Lea has not even been charged with any such abuse. There is no court finding that she has ever committed any abuse or neglect or mistreated any of her children. Lea is what she appears to be, a very loving mother who has an excellent relationship with her children, who has tried to protect them, and Judge Perkins will not allow her to do any of that.
Okay. Well, we have a phone call here, and so, caller, do you have a comment or question?
Hi, Tim. Excellent show.
Thank you.
And I didn't know much about this issue, and you should post some more about these issues. Or, wow, this is fascinating. Hey, on this blog issue,
Caller, I just want to let you know. Caller, can you hear me?
You should thought about taking down that blog and putting up another blog. We're doing some more public access TV shows so more people can be informed of what's going on. We know nothing about Perkins. Could you give us an overview on who put him in, why he's still there? This seems unbelievable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, caller. Well, you know, this is your first time on local cable TV. I do know they have it down there in Carver County, local cable, because I just did a shoot for them down there.
Well, I have a question for Lea. Lea, why do you think Judge Perkins is doing these things. You've actually been in front of him a number of times, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
What are your conclusions as to why he's doing what he's doing?
There's money behind it. Point blank. Done over with. It's money.
And is that federal funds?
Federal grant money. It's fraud, and I suspect pretty big chunk of my settlement out of the marriage, which was completely denied as well. And there's a lot more deceit and things behind this than what meets the eye and what says. So
in most divorces, normal divorces, things get split up, and your husband decided to leave you, and the assets are divided half and half. Supposedly.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the
That's
rules.
what everybody thinks happens.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
But judges have discretion. If there's disability issues or various issues, they can lean one way or the other. But in this case, you ended up with nothing.
Yep, and there was instigated high conflict custody litigation by court appointees, including the judge, and everything was depleted. We had a custody evaluator that charged $20,000, and initially
Mindy McNick, it's a
yeah.
familiar name,
Yeah.
does not have a good reputation.
No. Not at all. Yeah, and she, initially was paid for by my husband, ex-husband, and in the end of the divorce decree, of course, I was charged half of that, and I mean, it's the...
Half the fees for the custody,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, legal fees, I mean, it just, yeah, the judge actually charged me for my wedding ring and my band, and, because I was pregnant, actually, when my ex-husband left. I was 16 weeks pregnant. In fact, I was in the hospital for dehydration. I was very sick. I wasn't with the first two, but my third pregnancy, I was very ill. And he filed for divorce, and literally he was very, controlling during the marriage with money and things like that, and he just cut off completely everything afterwards.
And
couldn't get groceries or...
And so, my understanding is also kind of manipulated into selling some of your things.
Well...
Was this before he let you know of the divorce, or?
Yeah, I didn't, I mean, of course, things weren't going that well, and, it was, actually right when I found out I was pregnant, for some reason, something switched. And things kind of went downhill from there, and he just didn't come home one day, and I was served divorce papers, and couldn't afford a lawyer, and couldn't...
In the meantime, the assets you had, he was having you liquidate.
Yeah, you mean after he filed for divorce?
After,
I was forced
or
to.
before?
Yeah, I mean, I had a, $11,000 wedding ring, and I couldn't buy groceries. My kids just started school, and, I had school pictures, and, I needed gas money and all kinds of things. I was pregnant and very sick. In fact, in the hospital, I wasn't able to get the anti-nausea medicine because I had nothing. Couldn't even purchase it. So.
And cash, any cash that there was, you didn't have access to any of that at all.
Oh, never.
So your husband retained full control of any cash
Complete
or any
control.
assets.
Yes, everything. I wasn't allowed on checking accounts, credit cards.
And so the judge gave you nothing in order to help defend yourself.
He actually put her thousands of dollars in debt. She wound up, as part of the division of assets, she got nothing, absolutely nothing, but she did get thousands of dollars of debt that she owes her ex-husband, who in fact is a millionaire.
Yeah, very wealthy.
And do you have child support ordered against you yet?
I'm sure that's coming. We just
That'll
had a
be
hearing
coming.
on the 20th, and
Is this a temporary order, or is this going to be the final?
yeah, it's odd. I got the divorce decree, and it was temporary, full soul and legal custody to my ex-husband, and that's kind of awkward on a divorce decree. But we had a September 20th hearing, and just went through that, and we don't expect, of course, very much from it.
Yeah, so with no allegations of abuse, she even lost the presumption of legal custody. I mean,
that happened. That was very awkward.
That is, I mean, this is rare. I mean, this doesn't happen. I mean, it happens to a lot of guys, but that I know of, and you probably know more women that it happens to than I do.
Oh.
But, I mean, it does happen to both, and that tells me some of this is the individual judge, or sexism that goes on there, but a lot of it is about the judge and their bias and their opinions and what they want to accomplish.
Tim, you would think that it would have to be something very traumatic, very wrong with this woman to deprive her of all contact with 3 young children, ages 1, 5, and 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's unheard of. It's uncivilized, it's insensitive, it's unhuman is what
Right.
it is. And it's happening in this country today.
Now, do
And
you-
this is only one case.
Yeah.
There are others.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Many,
Yeah. It's happening every day here.
It comes down to what you've been saying a long time. Judges can do anything they want. They're not accountable to anyone. And they abuse, not all judges, but there are many judges that abuse the power they were given.
And it's what Greg Wurzel has said over and over again, that, people say, well, you can appeal. Well, and he's testified at the legislature, we played tape here. He says, well, for all practicality, you can appeal. That just judges' decisions in a majority of cases ends up being the last decision, because to get a lawyer to appeal, you're dishing out $10,000. And the judges purposely bankrupt, in my opinion, they personally bankrupt an individual so they will lose hope and don't appeal.
Tim, do you know how bad it is? More than half of all Minnesotans who appear in court do not have a lawyer. They cannot afford a lawyer. They try to be a lawyer themselves. They try to be pro se, and they just don't know what to do or how to do it. And in cases like Leah's, they are essentially without any remedy in this country.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And you think that shouldn't be.
That's
That's
right.
not really going on, but it is,
That's
and
right.
it's massive. Well, so who is taking care of the kids now?
I'm not quite sure right now, because I understand the nanny, I believe, went to college. But there was a series, actually, of 20-something nannies. A couple were identical twins, and it's all from one family for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but I don't know her. I've met her, one of them, anyway. Not, I think there's 4 or 5 or something like that. But they're just 20-something nannies, and
Are they parents? Are they mothers?
no, they're not mothers. In fact, the baby was taken, I just got done nursing her. She was taken at 11 weeks old and given to 20-something nannies that have never been mothers. And
Now, is there any possibility that these nannies are sleeping with your ex-husband?
yeah, my kids actually do state that they accidentally told my fiance and I that they've had to wake up the nanny in Daddy's bed. So,
While he
In
was
other
there?
words, they're paid prostitutes is what they are.
I believe so. Yeah.
Paid prostitutes are caring for her kids.
Yeah, they're just, yeah, and they're with them all the time. It's weekends, and in fact, in trial, it was he was asked about, because he said that they're employed from 7 to 4:30, no weekends, and that's it. Well, my fiance and officer were at the house just a few days before trial because of the dog incident. They had to go. It was 11:30
The
at
dog
night.
incident, you want to just
Yeah.
do a little bit about that?
Oh, the dog incident. My son's anger and his aggression has gotten severe.
Mhm.
And
At 5 years old.
At 5 years old, he's a wonderful, adorable, sweet. Never like this before. In fact, we had a dog once, and he was worried about her because she was cold outside, and he had to go get kitchen towels and cover her up. He's just a sweet boy. But his anger is off the charts. He saw me for the last, it's been probably a year, for 3 hours a week, and then every other weekend. And the abuse and the things that they have told myself and many others, it's enormous, and it's very hard on the kids. My son is the strong one. My daughter is, a little bit more passive. But anyway, his aggression has gotten so bad, he actually cut the tail of a 70-pound dog right through the spinal cord and artery, and with the pruning shears.
And just attack the dog and taking
Well,
out
kind
his
of.
anger?
Yeah, it's awkward. He drew a picture for the therapist and things, and it wasn't, he was smiling in the picture. It wasn't, it's very awkward. But yeah, his aggression, he's pushed the baby down the stairs at his dad's house. He's killed baby bunnies in the backyard, stomping them with his boots. And animal abuse in young children is very bad sign.
It's a serious problem.
Very serious problem.
It needs to be dealt with.
And the courts
Absolutely.
have completely just,
Yeah. So let's get back to this, the money issue. How do you think Judge Perkins himself could be tied into the money? Does he know your husband, your ex-husband?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Sure seems to like him a lot.
Yeah. Well, Perkins in the courtroom,
Yeah.
and I've been in front of him, and he's a very kind He's got
Yeah.
great court behavior from my experience,
Right.
but he never answered my questions that were before the court.
Yeah, and
in-
the
in
orders
his
are
answer- In his
lethal.
orders.
So, yeah,
Well,
he's very nice.
You know, and it's kind of a passive aggressive, and that's just the nature of judges. You're gonna be passive aggressive because you can be nice. And
Well,
then
Tim,
that pen just
Right. You
destroys.
have to remember that Mr. Banken, Leah's ex-husband, has paid enormous sums to his lawyer, who's a very creative lawyer and absolutely merciless, totally insensitive to what he's doing. His name is Banas.
Christopher Bannis.
Christopher Banas. And if you pay him substantial fees, like all lawyers, at least like most lawyers, he will do whatever you ask him to do, as long as it's legal. It may not be in good conscience, it may not be ethical, it may be hurting these children, it may be devastating to this woman, but he does his job. He works for a person who's paying him money, and that is what the most important thing is to many lawyers. Those
Right.
fees, it's a business,
Right.
and they operate it like a business and with no conscience and no ethics.
And there's nothing against the law or the rules to give money to judges.
That's right.
Nothing.
There is a rule that lets them give money to
Yeah,
judges.
absolutely. Yeah, that's even more importantly. So, and there's a good chance that that might be changed this year.
I
Uh,
hope so. We've
and
both talked to legislators that say that's wrong, and we have to change it.
Yeah.
It's out of
Legislators
control.
can't take money.
And Representative Smith was stopping that,
Yes.
and he's no longer there.
I mean, it's the children. It's not even, the appalling nature of it and how deceitful and,
Well,
well, this-
there's little
yeah.
kids.
Now,
This whole
a
issue of
baby.
best interest of the child, and
Right.
that gets thrown out a lot.
Oh,
There is
that's a
really no
marketing
such
line.
thing.
Well-
It is, you're right.
It is.
There is no best interest of the child. There's only one best interest, and that's of the judge, and how it's gonna affect him.
right. Tim, I'd like you to judge for yourself. You've met Leah. You heard her a couple nights ago. The audience right now has met Leah. Does she strike you as a person who would be a bad parent or a mean parent or abusive?
No,
I don't think
not
so.
at all.
No.
No, and most parents aren't.
That's correct.
Most parents aren't, and to be that way, you would definitely know and see characteristics. But you go in the courtroom, and that's why judges don't have witnesses that go in the courtroom. Or why you couldn't get witnesses into your case is because, well, they're just going to say things in your favor. So what?
Right.
I mean, what good is that type of witness?
Yeah, my witnesses were never heard during trial.
Yeah, and even though they could rebut what's being said, judge won't allow it. And was there any backroom talking, between
Chambers.
the attorneys and the
Oh,
judge?
chamber meetings every time.
And-
That's how they.
Did you hear anything that came out of that?
Yes, they had a meeting in Chambers. Leah's lawyer was in there, and the judge told her, Judge Perkins, don't bother to introduce your witnesses. My mind is made up. It's pointless to bring in your witnesses. He wouldn't even listen to them.
I mean, child abuse. We're talking like severe. These people have heard.
Uh-huh.
Without even me around. I mean, and his mind's made up. It's just doesn't make. It's obviously there's quite a few things involved behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
Yeah. So this money issue, we just got a little more, but just how many guardian ad litems have been on this case?
3.
3?
One of them actually was signed in twice, meaning I think it was 2 6-month.
Okay. And some of them just removed themselves.
Oh, they actually the ones recently. Yeah, the Linda Gare actually was the one recently. She asked to be removed.
Okay. Tell me about one of your last court cases, the conversation you had with Judge Perkins.
I ended up. Of course, I don't have a lawyer at this point, and I rather enjoy it.
Okay.
Because there's been so many times I've been in the courtroom and I've just, you want to go, ugh, wait a minute, but, I literally called Judge Perkins kind of out on the table. I don't necessarily remember, how it happened, but I just told him flat out, I said, there's, however you make your living or whatever you do, I'm like, knock yourself out. I said, but you're not doing it with my children at the expense of my kids. And he said, are you suggesting that, I'm taking, money? And I said, yes. And he said, I have never in my 18 years, taken money for a case. I said, well, that's wonderful. Then what's going on? And he just stared at me, and
That's bold.
he didn't know what to say. And
Yeah.
I think he was a little shell-shocked, which I don't blame him, I guess. But I asked him, I said, you can't answer that, can you?
Yeah.
And he just sat there, and I said, why don't I have my kids? What are you doing with these children? And towards the end, actually, we kind of got into a stare-down.
Okay, we're running out of time, so you
Yeah.
gotta finish this in about 5 seconds.
Okay, yeah, we kind of got into a stare-down, and he kept asking me, do you have anything to say about your contempt? And I said, well, do you have anything to say about what you're doing with my children? And it just went back and forth, and yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right, people, we're running out of time. Remember, if you don't stand up for other people's liberties, who's gonna stand up for yours? And good people don't do nothing. So find out what's going on. Go to the website here. God bless and good night.